here is my sketch pad. Now, you hopefully will have paper with you as well. And when I'm sketching, as probably most of you who like drawing would know yourself, it's very, very important when you start doing drawing that you don't draw too heavily, that you don't really have the grip of death on your pencil and on the paper. Because then when you make a mistake, not if, when, because everyone makes mistakes, it's very hard to rub it out. And you'll be sort of rubbing away and rubbing, and then suddenly you find that you can see the table because you've rubbed a hole through the paper. I actually have done it when I was younger, very annoying, especially if it was a good drawing. Or you do stop rubbing before you get through the paper, but there's still that ghost line, and you can't get rid of it, and it's really annoying. That's not a problem if you sketch first. Sketch really, really lightly first. That's what I always do. I still do it, even though I've been drawing dinosaurs for 50 years. I still start off lightly, then get heavier once I have it looking the way I want it to look. So, unfortunately, I can't draw faintly today because if I do, you won't be able to see it. I have to draw quite heavily. But what I'm going to do is draw in red. So when I'm drawing in red, that's me drawing faintly. Then I will go to a darker pencil after that, where I'm starting to put in detail. So as long as I'm drawing in red, don't press down heavily on your piece of paper. Very important. And there's nothing wrong with using an eraser. I know for some reason art teachers, some of them don't want you to use erasers. Possibly because they don't want you to get hung up with continually rubbing out. But I use them all the time. So, it doesn't hurt my drawing. Use one. Just don't become obsessed with rubbing out every little thing. So, do we have paper and pencils? Not texters. Can't draw with texters. We can, but you can't fix a mistake. Lead pencils is all you need. Colour comes into it later.
Do we do it in landscape or portrait?
We'll start off with a landscape. Okay, it's going to be landscape. Good question, thank you. Now, just let me draw the outline first so you can see what we're going to be doing and to make sure that I'm doing it heavily enough for you to see. Can you see that? I'm getting nods mostly. It's not, it should be okay. All right, hopefully I'll move it in a little bit closer too. This is a really simple egg shape. Now, before you do the egg shape, you need to leave room for that on either end, right? That obviously is the head end, the long neck, and the body. Notice the body is not as long as the neck or the tail. Often what we get with these drawings is you get like an orange with a pencil stuck in it on each end. And it's meant to be our long neck, our sauropod dinosaur. No. The body is the smallest part in terms of length. It's where most of the weight of the animal is, but it is shorter than the neck and shorter than the body. So if you've done an enormous egg shape to begin with and haven't left room on the end, either rub it out or flip the piece of paper over and draw it again. Believe it or not, those three shapes there are the most important part of your drawing. It doesn't matter how beautiful your shading is, and your texture, like wrinkles and things like that, and your skin, how beautiful your background is. If the basic outline is wrong, there's nothing you can do to fix it later. Get that right now. Okay? Get those, what we call, some of you will know this word, proportions. Proportions are how big different parts are on an animal, for example, compared to the other parts. For example, if my head was out here, it'd be too big in proportion to my body. So this big. In cartoons, however, you'll notice heads are often very big, but they're out of proportion. But that's okay because it's a cartoon. Not okay if we're drawing a dinosaur. Put your hand up if you have done that in a way that you're happy with. I'll scroll through this. Most hands are up.
This is out of proportion.
That's very out of proportion. But again, in some things, it's okay. I'm looking at, certainly on the ones where the cameras are on, we have hands up. Everyone's looking pretty happy. Excellent. All right. So the next bit, remember, this is just starting off. Draw it lightly. The next bit are the legs. Don't have huge fat legs. Think of an elephant. Okay, just imagine an elephant with a big long neck and a big long tail. You've got this guy. So here's the front leg. And there's the hind leg, the back leg. The back leg is bigger. It's sort of, you can see this thigh section is quite big and strong. And there is room underneath. Okay? This guy, Argentinosaurus, you could actually walk an elephant underneath its stomach. There's space between its legs. I've seen the actual fossil of this, or an exact copy of the actual fossil, and one of the real bones. They couldn't put it standing upright in its proper position because it was so heavy it would have broken the floor of the museum. So they have it lying down on a special reinforced base. And the single bone on this part of its leg, the front leg, which is shorter than the back leg, is taller than me. Just this one bone. It's about half a metre taller than me. One bone. The actual, they put the whole leg together, and including a bone from here, the bottom of its neck. And these were copies, so they weighed a lot less, and they had them up against the wall. But they had to squish the neck down a bit because it couldn't fit it in properly, because the building was only 3 stories tall. The wall would need to be 4 stories tall to fit that in. That's how big this dinosaur is. It is the biggest dinosaur we know of so far, from more than just 1 or 2 bones. We've got 30 or 40 bones of this. They're still digging it out. It's taking them decades to dig it out. It's ridiculously ginormous. Is that a word? Should be. It is now. Ginormous. All right. Have you got that down? Thumbs up? Yep. Head shaking. Good to see. The hind foot actually looks a little bit like our feet. Not nearly as long, but it does have a bit of a foot. The front leg doesn't. It has toes, but it actually walks on the tips of its toes, like that. It doesn't walk with its palm down. It walks on the tips. That's perfectly normal. Most animals do that, believe it or not. And in fact, even here, it's really walking on the tips of its toes. They've just, the very tips have just bent forward a little bit. But it's not walking on its palm, or it's not walking with its heel on the ground. But with this dinosaur, you really can't see it. They have like a straight column. If you're really techie, there is an elbow here, bends backwards a bit. There's a knee here, bends forward a bit. And that's pretty technical. If you're happy with that, then we can go to the black pencil, your heavy drawing. If that's looking pretty good to you, we can now start putting in some detail. Now, of course, we need 4 legs. All right, we'll get on to that. But firstly, what I'm going to do, you'll notice that I will smooth everything in. Don't make yours a ping pong ball with a toothpick sticking out of it. The toothpick needs to blend into the body. So it's an animal. They don't have sudden bits sticking out unless it's a spike, of course. But this guy doesn't have spikes. So I'm going to start drawing in a bit more heavily. So can you. Now you'll find as you're going that some lines which you had for your egg shape, you won't need anymore. You can rub those out, the ones that are here across the legs. And as you rub them out, it'll start to look a bit more three-dimensional. Right, so there's my outline, all right? In the outline's the most important bit, getting it right, and it's not easy, okay? It's not easy. And if you have a parent who asks, where's the front foot? Do make sure you tell them, no, that's what they look like. It's like an elephant's foot. There's nothing sort of really sticking forward very much, except most of these sort of long necks did have a claw, one big thumb claw, possibly used for defense. We think they could actually rear up on their hind legs. Imagine that, how big that would be. We need to put in the other two legs. You can only see a little bit of them, of course. They're hidden behind. So you can do a little bit like that and then shade it. Don't make your shadows black. Just a soft grey will be fine. Shadows aren't black unless it's on something that's actually black. All right? And if you bring the other one forward a bit, it looks like it's walking. I'm doing my shadows pretty dark so that you can see them. We need shadows everywhere. To make your dinosaur look round, do curved shadows. Okay? See how that curve makes it look like it's got a round body? These aren't Minecraft animals. They're not boxes and squares and rectangles. These are round animals. All right? It's sort of what we call soft. So shadows under here, and there's a mouth, of course, and a nose and an eye. And then wrinkles, little indication of where its ribs are, muscle lines. Muscles go along the length of the body. Wrinkles go across the body. So there'd be wrinkles here at the elbow, wrinkles here behind the knee, wrinkles at the foot, and in fact there'd be sort of skin wrinkles pretty much everywhere. But again, don't make it hard and black. Softer is good. That's what artists use. It's soft, and you can work into the darkness, but we don't really want it dark. I'll show you a share screen example of that if I can bring it up. No, I can't find it. That's okay. Oh, yes, I can. Hang on. It's a very good example of share screen. Can you see this guy? I have a thumbs up from someone. Can you see a big long-necked dinosaur on the screen? Any thumbs ups anywhere? Yes, you can. So you see how the shadow underneath is not black. It's dark brown. And the sun on the rest of the creature is light brown. So and you can see how the skin's all wrinkly and marked. So that's what we're sort of after with yours. Now, of course, we can't have a dinosaur sitting in the middle of nowhere. We need a bit of shadow to show where the ground is. We have rocks on the ground, ferns and things. If you want to, you can put a whole background in. And it's really simple. Look at this. Magic. You know, a few wobbly lines and there are mountains and hills in the background. Clouds. Trees. The forest back here. You can put a tree up close to show, it's bigger than a tree. It's a huge animal. And all of this gives it its environment, its habitat, where it lives. It's very, very important that when we're doing these animals, we remember they're not standing still in a museum. These were living animals. They had to eat, had to drink, they breathed, they pooed. We find fossil poo sometimes. They left footprints behind, which is how we know they don't drag their tails. Any picture that has a dinosaur dragging its tail is wrong. They do not drag their tails. And we should have known that as soon as we found the first footprints, which was 100 years ago. We found footprints. What we need, yes, fossil poo maybe. Is that a coprolite?
I have fossil poo.
Fossil poo, coprolites. And coprolites are very important. We can see what they ate because the bits and pieces that are left over are in the poo. That's a fossil. But the fossil tracks, the footprints, prove that they don't drag their tails, because if they did, all the fossil footprints would have a line between them where they dragged their tail. Not a single one of the over 100,000 sets of footprints we have around the world, not one has a tail drag. Dinosaurs did not drag their tails. And it makes sense, because if they did, they get the world's worst carpet burn all over the bottom of their tail. So, there is, I'll put the name here so you can put it on your picture. Argentinosaurus. So big, they named it after a country. And it's a big country too, I've been there. So, this is the largest. We'll never know which is the biggest, of course, because I'm 172 centimeters or something. There are people who are 2 meters tall. There are people, one of my in-laws comes up to my shoulder, and we're all human beings. We're all the same animal. So when we find a fossil, the chances are it's not the biggest one of that type of animal or the smallest one. The chances are it's about average. So the fact that we can find one which might be 36 meters long doesn't mean that's the biggest they ever got. There could be a different type of one which went to 36.5 meters, or even 40 meters. We will never know. So again, where books say the biggest is, that hasn't been very well written. It's always the biggest we've found so far, or the smallest we've found, or the tallest we've found. We can never know for sure, ever. Anyone who tells you will know for sure, well, they're not a good scientist at all. They're a very poor scientist. But the first thing we always say is what we don't know, which is great. Imagine if we knew everything. How boring would that be? There'd be nothing for you guys to grow up and find out for me. We need you guys to turn into fossil hunters. Now, I'm going to do this other one, which will take about another 10 minutes or so. So if you want to stay and do another one, you can. If you want to keep on working on your Argentinosaurus, of course, you can do that too. All right? This isn't school. You do whatever you want to do. Hopefully it's fun. So we're going to do a rather scary creature now. All right? So let's get rid of my Argentinosaurus. Sorry, Argentinosaurus. He is now extinct. He is extinct. Bye, Argentinosaurus. Nice new sheet of paper. His full name is Argentinosaurus hunchelii, by the way. Hunchil is the state or place in Argentina where they found it. So sometimes, of course, dinosaurs can be named after people. Laelinosaura. I actually know Laelin. She's the daughter of a scientist friend of mine. The reason it's Sora, not Saurus, is because Laelin is a girl. Saurus, you know how some languages have male and female words? Like table in French, for some reason a table is a girl, la table. But a dog is a boy, le chien, so le and la. Saurus is a
What if
boy's
someone doesn't
name.
feel like it's a girl or a boy?
Then you don't put Saurus on the end or Sora on the end. You do like Triceratops, 3-horn face. There's no Sora there whatsoever. But if you want to make it a girl's name, you put Sora on the end. Gasparinosaura is named after Madame Senora Gasparin, who is a Spanish scientist, and it was named after her because she was so good at one of her friends did it. But because she's a woman, it's Sora. Dinosaur. We need more Soras. So girls, go out there, find dinosaurs and name them after yourselves or after your best friend. Sometimes it's actually the second name is a person's name, and that's very common. Diplodocus, its full name is Diplodocus carnegii, named after Mr. Carnegie, because he gave a lot of money to the museum to help make a full cast, a full copy of the dinosaur bones to send out to other people around the world. And as a way of saying thank you, they named it after him. If you find it, often you'll find the scientists will name it after you. All right? It's quite common that the second name is a person's name, the person who found it. So that would be great. I'm still waiting for somebody to name a dinosaur after me, but I don't think it's going to happen. Right, next picture. I think that should have given you enough time to get another piece of paper and get ready if you're going to join us. Don't have to, but here we go. This will be pretty fast. Again, we start with red pencil, draw it faintly. Egg shape to begin with, but let me add on the ends first so you can see how much space you need. Egg shape. Tail, not quite as long as a long neck. And something looks a bit like a spout of a teapot is a way to think of it. Maybe like a teapot with a long handle. And there's the head. So that's the spacing that you need. And of course room for its legs. So the head of course is much, much bigger than a long neck, but only half the size of its body. They don't do a cartoon one, like the cartoon people without their heads 3 times too big, like we saw a while ago. The head must be smaller than its body, or firstly it's going to fall over for a start. But also the head is always smaller than the body in land animals. Funny enough, not in sea creatures. Sometimes the head's bigger. For example, sperm whales. Their head is sort of more massive than much of their body if you take off the tail. Gulper fish, head's much bigger than the body. Not as long, but much bigger than the body. But on land animals, the head is always smaller. Make sure the head's smaller. See, there's a lot of heads down as you're drawing that. Get this right. Remember, draw faintly. Faintly first. Make sure you get that looking the way it should. Okay, it's really, this is the critical part, the important bit to get this bit right. There's lots of careful study going on there. Jasper's having a good look. Stuart and Caitlin have their heads down, drawing away. Emma and Matthew are drawing away. Buster's thinking seriously about it. Erin is like just erasing something there and working on it again. This is great. You don't rush this bit. This is really important. Lachlan, Austin, and Linda have their heads down. Chloe and Lucy are thinking carefully about it. And it looks like Monty is having a strawberry break. Lucky you. What a strawberry.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I've been drawing all your pictures, and this is your background I've drawn.
Oh, the one behind me. You've got a Giganotosaurus about to devour me in the background, or he's chasing a Microraptor. Giganotosaurus is what we're going to be drawing now. So some of you, that's looking really good, Austin, might find the head behind me is a bit easier to do, because this is going to be a bit tricky. This is the bit now, when I said it's hard, this is the hard bit. The legs, right? Now, okay, here are the legs. This bit is the top section is much bigger than the next bit down. And notice there are 3 sections. That's the same as our leg from our hip to our knee. That is the same as our leg from our knee to our ankle. But then there's an extra bit because dinosaurs walk on tippy-toe. All right? So it's like you walking on tippy-toe. That's why there's sort of three. It's a zigzag. And each zig is the big bit. Then the zag is a little bit smaller. Then the next zig is very small. I'm going to draw those for you. Right? It's very important to get these proportions right. This is the trickiest bit you're going to do. There's the first bit. The width is nearly half, not quite, maybe a third of the whole body. They've got wide legs. Not fat legs, but wide. The knee is under the tummy. Don't put the knee up here, it's a common mistake. Under the tummy. Have a close look. Then the knee bends. They have a calf muscle, just like you do. This is where it's really important. Draw faintly. You might want to rub out a couple of things. Then there is the third bit. This is where it's so different from our leg. When people draw dinosaurs, they often draw a human leg on them. Here is the third bit. So it's like this zigzag. There, there, there. 3 bits. Then they're walking on their tippy toes, which might seem pretty odd, but that's perfectly normal for most animals. We are the strange ones. The fact that we walk with our heel on the ground is in fact extremely rare amongst animals. Very rare. Look, all lizards and crocodiles do it. Then again, lizards and crocodiles aren't very fast because their heels are on the ground. Wombats do it too. Wombats, well, they have a little burst of speed, but they're not particularly fast animals. And bears do it as well. They walk like we do, which is why bears look so human. People often say, oh, when they stand up, they look just like a big, shaggy person. You want to give them a hug. Well, that's because their legs look the same as ours. Most animals don't. Here's the foot, but it still has those 3 sections. If you want to see what most animals' legs look like, walking on tippy-toe, the easiest way is to go and get your dog or your cat to look at their hind leg. Make sure it's the dog or cat who doesn't mind having their leg felt, but you can feel the 3 sections. So the last bit, the bit just above their toes, is the same as your whole foot, your entire foot. You're walking on tippy toes. You do it when you suddenly burst off running. You run on your tippy toes before you get into the longer strides because it's faster. That's why you can't catch a dog. Even though a dog's legs are only, well, my dog's legs are that long. Okay? She's not very big. I can't catch her. My legs are 3 times longer than hers. I can't catch her. She's designed for speed. I'm not. My heels were on the ground, like all of you. Look at a cat. Try catching a cat that doesn't want to be caught. The same Bolt is famous for running 100 meters in 10 seconds, or 9.7 seconds. So what? Your average border collie can do that, and do it for an hour when he's chasing a ball. The same Bolt, after he's done it, has to have a rest for 2 hours. Dogs are so much faster than us because they have this sort of leg. So do sheep. So do elephants, rhinoceroses, giraffes, antelope, pigs. Pretty much every mammal you can think of except for bears walks like this. Birds walk like this too. The bit of a bird's leg that you can see is the bottom bit only. The top bit is covered by their feathers. The next time if you eat meat and you have a roast chicken, ask for the leg. That's what you eat, that section there. The thigh and the lower leg. When you look at a chicken, that's what you can see. Foot and the middle part of the leg. A little bit confusing, but look at skeletons online or in a science book or one of your school books, you'll see it. If you've done that, scroll through who's happy. And they managed to do it. It isn't easy. Don't get upset if you've had trouble with that. It's not easy. Thumbs up if you're reasonably happy with what you've done. Any thumbs up? Not so far. You're all still working. Oh yes, couple of Buster's happy. I'd like to see this far. Emma's not quite so. Emma and Matthew aren't quite happy. Scruthy is very happy. Buster's looking very happy indeed. Austin's looking good. How Chloe and Lucy going? Lachlan's, yeah, he's got it all worked out. Belinda and Jordan going well. Yeah, Austin's good, and they're looking good. Good. Scott's there now. Caitlin's got it on board. Fantastic. Well done, Caitlin. 2 thumbs up from Caitlin. Excellent. Right, I'm going to go back, and it is time then. Dark pencil time. We're going to have fun. We're going to make it look as realistic as we can. Let's go sharpen my pencil. I've been through a fair bit. Of course, we do need 2 legs. We'll just do this left leg first, then we'll get onto the second leg, and we'll make it walking. Show you a little trick to make it walk. Right, first thing is we start at this end, the bitey end. They have no cheeks, all right? The mouth goes the whole way, almost, to the back of the head. There's the nose, there's the little eye, there's the mouth. There's the neck. Now, fun thing about dinosaurs is, the meat eaters, we want them to look mean because they're a meat eater. Of course, if they didn't look mean, I wouldn't do it that way. Fortunately, they all have overbites. Okay? Their top teeth actually stick out over their bottom lip, which means when they close their mouths, you can still see the top teeth, which just looks cool as well as being scientifically accurate. So, have the tips of those teeth sticking out. It's correct, it's accurate. And they actually do look cross, like my one back here, because they have ridges of bone. Almost every meat eater, every theropod has a ridge of bone over the tops of the eyes. And it's obvious why. When you're biting something, hunting it, usually that thing's not very happy. And it's flailing away, and it's got claws or spikes or club tails or something. And the eye, as you know, you get an eyelash in your eye, it really hurts. So imagine getting a spike or a fist in your eye, or a claw. So these ridges of bone are there to protect the eyeball to some extent. And so those ridges of bone actually make it look cross, which is, again, just cool, because it's a meat eater. We want it to look a bit scary, all right? Nature, luckily, has obliged. Nature sort of provided something that looks good. I mean, if they had underbites and big eyes, they could be walking around going, which doesn't look very scary, but if that's the way they looked, I would do that. Fortunately, they don't look like me, even though some people have said I was old as a dinosaur. Nice. All right. The hands are very easy, right? They're pretty much the same as yours. Bigger than a Tyrannosaurus's. As you know, they were very small. Why were they so small? Well, because the head was so big. They had to lose weight from somewhere at the front because they hunted with their teeth. Even though this Giganotosaurus is bigger overall, its teeth aren't as big as a T-Rex's. So obviously the way they hunted was slightly different. T-Rex's teeth are made for taking very big shock impacts. It's very thick. It's not only shaped like a blade, but it's fat like a banana. So these were made not for scavenging. Well, it would have scavenged, absolutely 100%. All animals scavenge if they're a meat eater. You have a dog, you know, they scavenge. But they will also kill things given a chance. If you can find food lying around, why hunt it? But did they hunt? Yeah, that argument about scavenger versus hunter, this is not a scavenger's tooth, not a specific scavenger. This is made for hunting. Why else would it be so strong? Because it might get broken when it's biting and killing stuff. A scavenger doesn't need teeth that massive. But it will scavenge. If it finds a dead Triceratops, well, why risk getting hurt with a live one? That's half my dog. Not that she hunts Triceratops, she gets a little bit scared of the pigeons. Anyway, that's my dog. Let's give little hands, the claws, and the tummy. Bring it down, it's a little bit further than the egg, and then it comes up again to the tail. That's a detail you don't really need to worry too much about. Off we go to the tail. And there we have, start putting a bit of that shadow in. Again, curve the shadow around the tummy, and the shadow under here. Some wrinkles, into the ribs, maybe it's still hungry, muscles. Maybe it's got stripes, I don't know. Now the other leg, the other hand is easy. You just sort of do like a shadow. You copy the outline of the first hand and put a bit of shading on it, and you've got the other hand. The shading can stop. It doesn't have to go the whole way, which shows, oh, there's sun hitting on it. Nice little detail to show that, oh yeah, there's sunlight. This is obviously a sunny day, otherwise I wouldn't have done the shadows. But the back leg, now you can do it the same way if you want to. You can just do, like I've done here with the arm, you just a little bit further out do a copy of your first one. That's the easier way to do it. I'm going to do something that's a little bit harder if you'd like to try it. I'll show you. I imagine this leg, but all bent. All the joints are bent. So the hip has come forward, so the knee is now forward a bit. I'll shade that in. Not black shadows, grey. Which means the ankle is now going to be here. There's the ankle. I'm going to bend the ankle forward as well. So I only see a little bit of it. And the toes are now there. And it looks like it's taking a step. Now that's tricky. I absolutely understand that's tricky. And then of course we have backgrounds and everything else that you might want to do to make it look better. But we won't worry about that right now. We'll just we'll have to finish up because we are over time, and well, library people need their lunch. I need my lunch. Seeing the strawberries made me very hungry. But that's your basic thing. What you can do now, of course, is spend time fixing it up, doing things differently with it, and decorating it, whatever you want to do with it, basically. Don't worry about if it doesn't look the way you want it to. Thank you, but thank you so much for coming along and joining us today at the Goldfields Library.